We are live.
Hello, everyone. Hope you're doing great this second week of this program. And today we're going to be jumping directly into what design thinking is and the first stage. We talked last week about, we did a bit of an introduction to this methodology that has been used by many great brands and creative people to create either products or services. And that's one of the things that we have to remember. This process that we're learning today, it's used to create products or services. We're creating something. This is not just a theoretical exercise and we just talk about ideas and that's about it. This was thought of as a way for us to try it out and validate our ideas by turning them into real products and services that people or users can taste, can use, can try out and figure out if they like it or not. So what we talked last class was about basically the entrepreneurial spirit, how we can change things, how we can find problems and solve them, how we have to focus on people that is having the problem. This is the center of all this process. Hello, Sharon. Nice that you're here. So, without any further ado, let's dig right in. So, as I was telling in the intro class, we just review a little bit about what is to be an entrepreneur, who can be an entrepreneur, about innovation, and a little bit about design thinking. Today on class one of the process, we're going to see the first stage of the model, that is empathize. We need to know what the problem is and who is having it. After that, we go to step two, that is define. With all the data that we gather from the user, the people who's having the problems, we find out one problem that we can define in one line, and we're going to work with that. The problems are usually big. They have a lot of parts. They have a lot of situations. For example, one of your classmates gave the example last week of ending world hunger. Okay, so world hunger is a very complex issue to tackle. You don't just, it's not like let's just produce food and problem solved. You have to send the food to the people. You have to know who's having hunger problems. There's a lot of cogs and pieces in this machinery, but we cannot solve all of them. We just have to focus on one. This is a part of the problem that I'm going to focus in, and then we make alliances with other people to solve the rest of the problem. On stage three of this process, we ideate. We already found the problem that we're going to be working in, and now we have to craft a solution to that problem. Stage four is prototyping. This solution that I have in my head, now I turn it into paper, into whatever form or format I'm going to use to actually create the product or make the service available to the people. And the final stage is testing. We show this product or service to the people that are having the problem that I'm trying to solve, and see what they think about it. This is a key stage because this is what's going to tell us if we're doing it right or wrong. And if we're doing it wrong, what can we learn so we can do it again and do it better? Remember that this is a cycle. We first get to know the people who's having the problem, and we understand the problem, not what we have in our heads about the problems. This is not about my experience about the problem. It's about what the people who are actually having the problems are feeling. We'll dig deeper into that a little bit later. After that, we define, what is the part of the problem that I'm going to be focusing in. Then we ideate, which means I create one solution to that one problem. Then we turn that solution idea into a product or a service, something tangible that I can later show to the user through the testing process. And then we go again and we go again. We talked about it on the introduction class. This is a cycle. If you stop doing the cycle, you run into the possibility of being left out of the loop, that your user, the people who is buying or using your solution, just doesn't want it anymore because their needs change, their expectations of the solution change. You need to constantly be doing this, not every day, not every week, but every now and then, so you know what people need and how the problem is evolving. Hello to everyone that is joining us now. Betty, Karinsola, Taiwo, welcome. Thank you for being here with us today. And among those, that cycle, there's another little cycle that this you do more often. That is, when you get to the ideate part, this means when you get to the solution part of this process, you are going to be learning and trying out new things constantly. So this cycle, once you create your solution, you make a prototype, then you show it to the client, and you're going to learn. It's very hard that on your first try, you're going to get everything right. So I built this gadget that is going to help purify water from like wild sources. So, okay, the gadget works. It actually cleans water, but perhaps when I prototype it and I show it to people don't understand how to use it. Okay, I have to go back to ideate, prototype, and test again. Then they don't really like the product that you use to create this prototype. Is hard to find and is expensive. We need to do it again. And you do this cycle over and over again until you show it to the client and you see it in their face. This is exactly what I was looking for. This is what I needed. And then you have your product or service ready to go to market, ready to sell. Okay. You will find, as we talk on the introductory class, failure, a lot of failure. But remember, failure is an absolute failure only when you don't learn anything about it, only when you don't get a teaching out of it. If we go back and we go to the cycle, you will fail constantly on the cycle because that's part of the process. And each cycle that you do, you learn something new. I learn a new way of presenting my prototype to people. I learn a new kind of products that I can use to create this prototype. I learn of new ways to introduce this new technology, this new gadget into people that sometimes are not tech savvy. They take a long time to learn new things. And each time you complete the cycle, you either have the success of this is ready to launch, or the quote unquote failure of it's not ready yet. I got something out of it. I learned something out of it. So it's not a failure. It's a learning, and we keep moving forward. Don't fear failing. Don't fear falling, because it's going to happen. It happens to all of us. Don't fear the no. When someone tells you, no, I don't like that, that's not good, that's not going to work, that's just a little piece of the whole truth, of the whole expectation of the world. Don't let one no or a few no's or even a lot of no's define you and your project. You abandon your project when you feel that you're doing something wrong. When you realize that you've been putting all this time and all this effort and all these resources into this project, and you simply cannot find the people that want to buy it. You cannot find the solution to that problem. We all have been there. I've had failures in companies. I started companies that have failed, and it's part of the process. And I got a lot of learning out of it. I learned how to do things better and more efficient and cheaper. So don't fear the no's. Don't fear the doors closing on your face. It's part of the process, and you're going to be better at doing this because of it. Everybody that you can look up to, every role model that you might have in terms of entrepreneurship and innovation, have suffered this nose, these doors closing in your face, these failures a bunch of times. There's actually one guy, the founder of Alibaba, Jack Ma, I think it's called. I saw him on doing a presentation, and he talked about failure a lot. And he said, if someone introduces to me and wants to work with me in a laboratory, in a project, whatever, and he says that he or she has never failed, I don't hire them, because that means that they haven't tried anything new yet. They haven't gone out of the comfort zone. They haven't adventured themselves out there. So failure is part of the innovator's DNA. So get used to it, and get used to quickly get teachings out of it. So indeed, failure, and once you start getting used to dusting yourself off and going back there again, you get a lot of courage, and you start realizing what your capabilities are and how far can you go. So after a few of those, you just don't really care that much, because you know that it's just part of the process. So why are we talking about design thinking, and why is Coverina so focused on you learn this process? Is because, as we talked in the introductory class too, 9 out of 10 new companies fail. 90% of new endeavors fail. Why? Because they do things, they're trying new things, they are not using the right methodology. There's a lot of reasons. And the 5 biggest reasons why companies fails are, for example, the business model fails. This means that the way they want to make money with the company is not good. Like, they are selling too cheap or too expensive. They're trying to sell this to the group of people that don't want it, and the group of people that really want it, they don't know about the product, stuff like that. So when you are not clear on who your client is and how to sell to that client, when you don't understand the market. So when you start creating your product and services, you start creating it for specific group of people that have the problem. If you think that your solution fits everyone in the world, you're doing something wrong. No solution fits everybody in the world. So you need to understand your market. Who is it? Where do they live? How much they spend? Do they have resources or not? Are they tech savvy or not? Etc. Because they run out of cash. This is very common. You start building your company, you start selling your product, it goes good, you start growing very quickly, you don't have enough money to support the big company, you fail. That happened to me once. Because of a bad team. We will dig deeper into this in further lessons, but picking the right partner for a new endeavor is extremely, extremely important. Doing this alone is very, very hard. I do not recommend it. Find partners to help you with this. People who are equally passionate as you for the problem, for the technology that you're going to use, for helping people. But you need to find. It's more complicated to find a good business partner than find a good life partner, a wife, a husband, or a partner, as you will. There are a lot of laws and regulations on how to get married and how to get divorced. There are not a lot of regulations about business partners. So keep that in mind when you find one. And finally, and the biggest reasons why a company fails is because they built something that nobody wanted. And this happens because we fell in love with our ideas. We fell in love with our projects, and probably it happens to you. You have an idea in your head right now, something that you want to do, and just say, "This is $1 million idea. This is obviously going to work. It's so cool. It's so new. I have never seen it anywhere else. This is going to make it." But that's your opinion on the very small experience that you have about the world and life in general. Don't fall in love with your idea. You have to fall in love with the problem and the people who are having the problem so you can help them. If not, you run the risk, as I did, of building something that nobody wanted. And if you build something that build something that nobody wants, that's it. There's nothing else to do. Nobody wants your product, and you can repeat the cycle all over again, but you have to start from scratch. So this design thinking process is to help you find real problems in real people and actually build things that people not only want but need. Okay? Our focus here is people. We're solving people's problems. These are not theoretical problems. This is not numbers on an Excel spreadsheet problems. We're solving people's problems with names and last names, with faces. We have to remember that our focus for all this is solving people's problems. Okay? Can we make money out of it? Yes. Can we become rich out of it? Sure. But we never have to lose the goal. That is, we're helping people, we're solving people's problems. Okay? So the focus is the people out there, not me, not my ideas, not what I want, not what I think it's best, is the people out there. Right now, for example, I prepared this class not thinking of what would be the coolest class for me. Probably be very different. I'm trying to think on what you guys and girls want. What are you interested in? What would appeal to your attention? How I'm going to get at least part of this message engraved in your heads, because you are my users. You are the people that have the problem. In this case, the problem is you don't know design thinking, but you want to. So I prepare this, what I say, how I speak, what I use in these images to appeal to you, to try to figure out what you need and give it to you. Not what I want, not what I need. I would, I don't know, do a full presentation of GIFs and movie quotes and things like that, and it would be very cool for me. Perhaps it would be very boring for you. So this is what we need to do: create products to solve people's needs, not my needs. Okay? And people, there's a lot of people in the world. There's a lot of people coming into the world. We live in a world with a lot of problems, and each person in this world experiences each problem in a different way. We've been talking about world hunger. That's a great problem to try to solve. We need to solve that problem, but everybody experiences hunger differently. It depends on what continent you're on what country you're on. What is your neighborhood like? Are you alone? Do you live alone, or do you live with your family? Do you have kids? Do you have also work, or are you unemployed? All these things affect how, all these personal situations affect how I feel the problem, how I live the problem, how the problem bothers me during the day. So it's not just I'll solve the problem for everybody, because everybody is the same. It's not. Each human being is an individual with specific characteristics that make them experience the problems differently. This doesn't mean that we have to create one solution for each person. We find what the person that are having the problem have in common, and we go from there. And we need to understand people, and we're going to start digging into the first stage of design thinking right now. We need to be empathic. We need to be able to get knowledge and data from people even though sometimes the people won't give us the data at first just willingly. Sometimes they don't even know about what we're going to ask them. They don't even know that they're experiencing a problem. So we need to be smart on how to talk to people, how to engage them in order for them to open up and share what the problem is. So we see this guy, Daniel, he's clearly having a bad time. How can we learn about his problem? If you see someone, you see a friend, you see a family member, you see a neighbor that is sitting like this on a corner, on a bench on the street, how do you approach this person? What do you do? How do you talk to them? It for some people, this comes very easy and very naturally. It's easy. For example, I've been blessed with a very natural empathic skill. For me, it's easy to talk to someone that I don't know and engage them in a conversation and try to get to know that people. It's easy now. It used to be very hard for me because I was very shy and I hated talking to strangers. I hated talking with most people, actually. It was very complicated for me. Then, after putting myself into the situation a bunch of times, I realized, well, I do have an knack for it. So, what would you do? How would you talk with someone? Do you feel comfortable talking with people you don't know, or do you avoid it like the plague? So, the thing is, we need to develop empathy. Some of us have it from the day we're born. Some of us have to craft it a little bit, and some have to do a big effort because you're introverts that don't really feel comfortable sharing with people you don't know or talking with people you don't know, and it's hard for you to make new friends, and that's okay. We all can do this, and we all can be empathic. It just takes a bit of a different road, just what we're doing in innovation. So we talk. The first thing we need to do is make the people that we want to talk to lower their barriers, especially when you're going to talk to a stranger. You put a lot of barriers up. You don't want this. Who is this people? Why are they talking to me? You get suspicious. What do they want? Are they trying to rob me? Are they trying to get information out of me for something? We as humans, we naturally reject what we don't know, what we don't understand. If someone sits right next to us on a public bench and start talking to us, it's very usual that your reaction will be like, "Who's what?" Like, I'll just go away. I don't want to deal with this. So we need to learn how to casually and naturally talk to strangers so they will feel comfortable enough to lower their barriers, to trust us, and to share their problems and their needs and their expectations with us. And there's no perfect recipe for this. Just talk to strangers, of course, especially if you're underage and you need someone to help you with some grown up, some family member, some friend, someone that is going to help you in this process. Depending on where you live, it might be more or less dangerous to go outside and just talk to random people in the streets. So take, of course, all the precautions. Safety, your safety is paramount in all this process. If you can't go to the streets because of COVID, of safety or whatever, we use digital media, like go into Facebook groups and just start talking to people you don't know. Get your friends to introduce you to other people that you haven't met yet and that they might help in the process. But what you need to start doing right now is talk with strangers, talk with people you don't know, and start developing this muscle of talking and learning and being naturally empathic with random people. Okay, this takes time. It's not we learn like everything we learn in life. It takes time. It takes patience. It takes from failures of people walking away from you, learning. Okay, this is what I did wrong. This is what I said that made that guy jump and run away. I won't do it again. And you start doing it until you feel comfortable talking with people, and you realize that people are feel comfortable talking to you too. We listen. The most important part of this, once we get their attention, their trust, once they lower their barriers, is we need to listen. This is not about us. This is not about our idea or very cool project. This is not about us. This is about them. And the best way to get the information is to listen. Ask questions, talk to them, give them a topic to talk about, and then just listen. Pay real attention to what they're saying. Not Do not get them talking and then jump into your phone to chat with someone, and that's the worst thing that you can do. When you get someone to lower their defenses and to trust in you for the first time, they expect your full attention. So give them your full attention with your face, with your body language, with everything you got, and actually listen. You're going to learn a lot about what you want to do by listening to the people who are experiencing the problem. That's the goal of this. And by all means, avoid judgment. What we have in our heads regarding the problem, regarding the solution, regarding what I think of the people that are having the problem, just get it out of your head and go there with a clean head, with a clean mind. Don't judge the person. When they say something that you find horrible in your investigation, don't react to that. You need to be able to be empathic, even with people that you might don't like, and learn from that. Especially if what you're trying to solve is something that is personal and delicate to people. For example, let's stay with world hunger. If you're going to talk with someone who is so poor that can't afford to buy food, it's a very sensitive issue. They don't feel good about it, and they don't feel good about people probing them for information about something that hurts them 24/7. So when they say something that you find horrific because it's such a crude situation, don't react. Just pay attention and be gentle with what they express, with their feelings, with the secrets that they're revealing to you. Just think that this person is one of your best friends that is sharing a very delicate, sensitive family situation. You don't react, you don't scream, you don't just pay attention and try to absorb as much as possible and make the person that is sitting next to you, make them feel comfortable, make them feel like they're in a safe space where they're not going to be judged, they're not going to be told what to do, they're not going to be told that they're wrong. You're just there to listen, to understand them, just like La woman said, and to help them, but not help them from, I'm up here, I'm better than you, I have a better situation than you, and I come to help you because, oh, you're so poor. We are here. Here. We are in the same level. We're both humans. We both have problems. And I think that I can help you with your problem. And you definitely can help me with my problem. I want to solve something that I really don't understand. You have that understanding that I need. So you can help me. So I can help you. We are on the same level. Never go from the what's the word? From a moral high ground, or I'm better and doing better, so I'm going to tell you what you need and I'm going to solve your problem because I'm so great. That's not the goal here. We're on the same level. You help me, I help you. Okay? And just talk, practice this. Talk, especially now because of all the COVID restrictions, that we can't just go to the streets and interview random people. And if we do it, we have to wear masks. That forbid us to see a lot of expressions that are very important in this. Try to do Zoom or video calls on whatever app you feel comfortable with. with random people that you don't know. Try to connect with people on social media. Ask friends to introduce you to friends of friends, people that you don't know, that you don't have connections with, and just talk about the problem, talk about what they experience, what they feel, what they need, what they want, their secret aspirations about the problems. And why do you think that we're talking about strangers, talking with strangers? Why do you think that you can ask your parents or your brothers or your friends about this? It's because something very natural to humans. Just as humans fear the unknown and what we don't understand, we avoid it. We also avoid confrontation, especially with people that we care about. So if I tell my parents about this idea, they're going to find that it's the best idea ever, it's the best project ever. Please go ahead. It's the most amazing thing I've ever heard. And that's not good. That's not true. The friends also, they want to show you their support, so they're going to say yes to whatever you show them. That's not good. That's not what you need. You need honest feedback, honest information. You need someone to tell you that the project is wrong, so you don't spend years and money working on it, and you can fix it quickly and cheaply. Sorry, there was a question here in the chat. What do we do when the person we're trying to talk to gets violent? Okay, it's not the most common reaction to ask things for someone and they get violent, but it might happen, especially if you work with people that have, for example, people that live in the streets, people that have certain kind of problems that affect their way of thinking and their way of reacting. If you do work on that kind of problem, the first thing that you need to do is talk to a professional, to a social worker, for example. Let's say, okay, let's stick with world hunger. If I'm going to talk to people that live in the street and that don't have enough to afford food, I go to my city hall, I go to a university, I go to somewhere where I can find professionals that work with that group of people. They are going to give us very, very important advice of how to do it. Perhaps they're going to tell you, you know what, don't do it. It's too dangerous. You're not ready. You don't have the tools. Perhaps they're going to say, hey, we have a group that meets every Tuesday at 5, so come and listen to them. If you're going to be working with people that have mental issues, that live in the street, that have drug situations, whatever, those kind of problems, always, before talking to that people, talk to professionals, talk to experts that are going to lead you in the safest way possible to doing it. And if someone, you just are asking about, I don't know, puppies in the street, and someone gets violent to you, you say, hey, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to bother you, walk away. Don't try to engage, don't try to refute them. If someone gets violent out of nothing, just walk away. Say sorry, walk away, go to a crowded place, and call someone to help you. Okay. So getting back to this, we need to talk with people we don't know, and we need to talk them. We have to be honest with them and open with them, so they are open with us. It probably happens to you that when you meet someone new and they're being cautious with you, you detect that, and you are going to be cautious with them too. I'm not going to share everything. Perhaps I'm not even going to give him my last name, just my first name, because it's more random, and you know. So if you expect people to open, to lower their barriers, to be honest with you, to open themselves to you, you have to do the same. Okay? So remember, people that you don't know. This is a very good question. What happens if the person does not tell you what you need to know? This happens a lot, and this can happen because of different reasons. For example, sometimes people just lie, especially if you're talking about very personal situations. Let's say we're talking about abortion, where we want to create solutions for the abortion issue. If you stop random people in the street, or you talk to someone that you don't know and ask them about abortions, there is a moral judgment attached to abortion, depending on the country you're in, depending on the society you're in, depending on your choice, you might get judged. People don't like to feel judged, especially by strangers. So they're going to lie and tell you what they think that you want to know in order to avoid the judgment. You have to be, the only way around this is be smart when you're asking. For example, if I would be sitting with a woman that I don't know, she doesn't know me, and I want to know if she had done an abortion before, and we live in a very conservative country, which means that most people are against abortion, I wouldn't ask her straightforward, have you had an abortion? I would ask her, for example, have you heard of anyone having an abortion? Do you know someone? You leave the question a bit open so they can share their experience, but say, well, a friend of mine, I have a distant relative who once did, and they tell you their story, but with the name of someone else. You allow them to basically give you their story with anonymity, so they feel more comfortable revealing this private information. You have to be smart. This takes time to figure out exactly the words, exactly the questions you need, depending on the topic you're solving. Sometimes people won't give you the information that you want, that you need to hear for the process, because they don't know. They haven't figured it out. They haven't thought of it. I did one exercise with my students a couple of years ago regarding clothing. We wanted to, it was a solution to help you find your perfect outfits and how many outfits do you need in your closet to have everything you need. But we realized that what you need in terms of clothing is 2 or 3 outfits for work, 1 outfit for sports, one or 2 outfits casual. It was very little clothing, but a lot of people had a lot of clothing in their houses. So why is that? We start digging in, or in our same classmates, trying to figure out what it is, and they say, "Oh, because I never know what I'm going to need to wear and whatever." They really haven't thought out of it, but they just keep buying clothes. We came to realize that one of the things that a lot of these people had in common, was that they buy a lot of clothes they don't necessarily need, because they are afraid that they're going to be judged by their peers if they show up to work in the same outfit 2 times or 3 times in the same week. Oh, people are going to think that I don't know how to dress, that I'm immature, that I'm a kid, that I'm poor, So to avoid my peers' judgment, I spend a lot of money, a lot more money sometimes that I have, in clothing and accessories and makeup and stuff like that. People didn't actually know why they were doing it until we start doing this exercise and digging in. We did a kind of therapy with our students, and they came to that conclusion. It was very surprising. Nobody expected it, but there is that. Sometimes people don't really know, and you have to help them in a therapy-like way to get to the problem and how the problem affects them, and they're going to realize what's happening, and then they can share their information with you. Indeed, sometimes this depends on the group of people that you talk to. What for certain people is the basic need that it has to be covered, for other people it's a luxury. In certain countries, people go to street to protest because they have slow internet, and some other countries are protesting because they don't have internet access at all. Just to give you a very random example. And this is very important for us to understand, because when we talk to people and try to figure out about their problem, we need to understand where they are at regarding the problem. Are they able to find a solution? Are they able to pay for a solution? They haven't been able to find a solution at all. How important it is for them? Is it a luxury or is it a necessity? Very good point, Sharon. So, how do we do this? How do we see how do I get to this person to open up to trust me? How do I get to talk and to feed myself of all this information? First, be friendly. Don't go with your I don't know, with your notebook and your like looking like a reporter. Go just as you would be dressing and would be preparing to go talk with a friend. Be friendly, be open, be transparent, be honest. Don't be condescending. Don't treat the other person like, oh, they're so poor thing that you have this problem and I'm going to try to help you. Remember, you're at the same level. Talk to them as an equal. That is going to do wonders to help them open up and feel comfortable. You and the other person are a team. They are helping you with vital pieces of information that you don't have right now. You are trying to build something to help them. You're a team. You're working for the same goal. Ask open questions. Don't try to avoid the questions that would you rather do this or this? What is your favorite color? Those kind of questions are going to give you short answer. I like red. I prefer this. I like chocolate. Those questions in certain situations are needed. For example, how many hours of the day you spend thinking about this problem? Oh, let's say 6. Oh, okay, so that's a fourth of the day I spend thinking of this problem. That's important. But to actually get to know the problem and how it affects the person, you need to let them talk. Ask open questions. So, how do you experience this? How do you feel when this happens? What have you seen in your friends and neighbors and family when this happens? What stories do you know about this? Let them speak a lot. Do not time this. These interviews take a long time because you're going to get flooded by data, but the pieces that you need are somewhere in there, and you need to let all the data come and pick what you need. But you need to open those gates and let all that flood of data come. You need to let them talk. And the thing is, you will realize that there are things of the problem that you have never even thought of because of listening to people. Listen. You are there to listen, not to talk, not to share your expertise, not to talk about how cool your solution is. You're there to listen and try to record with permission, always with permission. Do not record people without their permission because that's illegal. One, and they can make that can if someone realizes that you're recording them without their knowledge, they're going to shut down, they're going to avoid you, and they might even sue you. So ask for their permission, record the audio of what they're saying, and pay full attention to how they're saying it. Are they gesticulating? Do they seem happy when they talk about this? Do they seem really sad? Are they getting anxious talking about this part of the issue? It's very important that you pay attention to your full focus is on the person and their problem, and you leave the recording to later hear and get those specific pieces of data that you need. Remember that non-verbal communication composes almost 60% of all human communication, which means that what I'm transmitting to you without the words, with my gesticulation, with my face, with my body language, is a lot. You're going to learn a lot about the people who are having the problem and a lot about the problem by paying attention to the non-verbal communication. This also takes time. We don't get to be experts in this from one way to the other. Just practice it. Pay attention. Ask a question. See how they react. Do they look like suspicious? Like they're not sure what you're asking this? Do they look anxious? Like I don't want to. I just want to go home. Please stop asking me questions. Do they get happy because finally someone is trying to help them with this problem? It's very important that you record in your head those reactions because that is important pieces of information that we're going to be using in our next stages. And about the problem, remember about the problem and the solution that the problem needs. there's a small percentage of all this information about the problem that I know that I know. I'm sure that I know it. There's a bigger part of the problem that I know I don't know. I know that I need to go and interview people because I know that there's this piece of information I don't have, and I need to get it from the people, from researching for other media. But the thing is, the biggest piece of data about this problem, I don't even know that I don't know. It's not even on my radar. And people that have the problem talking to you are going to give you that part of the puzzle that you don't know that you don't have. So this part is crucial. You have to pay a lot of attention to this, to the people, to what they're saying to you. So I wouldn't go as far as don't talk to the whole conversation. Just guide the conversation when possible. Sometimes the people are going to start talking and yap, and you'll have all the information there. Sometimes people are more introverts. They're shy. So you need to start getting a little bit in there, asking a little question, perhaps even telling them a little bit about yourself so they feel more comfortable opening up. Let them talk until they hit a pause and they stop talking. And then you're going to realize, okay, perhaps I should leave this person to just keep talking and that's it. Perhaps I need to start just getting information in there so they slowly get used to give me the information. This is just like when we're at school giving a test. Sometimes a teacher asks us questions and we can just give out all the information out there. Sometimes we need those small reminders and clues and questions that help us, get deep inside our brains and, here is the information. There it is. So our first mission is turn the I believe, I think, perhaps into I know. That's our main goal right now. We have an idea, we have a thought of what the problem is and how people are experiencing it. But that is our vision, or perhaps our idea. We need to turn that I believe this is the problem and this is the person having the problem into I know this is the problem and this is the person having the problem. How do we do that? We get data from people and we turn that data from people into knowledge. Okay, we will do this in our next class. But the most important thing and your homework from here to next class is talk to strangers, talk to people you don't know. With if you're going to use digital media, with the camera turned on, you and the other person, camera turned on. You need to be able to see the reactions, to have this open communication. So you get the data, and next week we're going to start learning how to process this data into finding that piece of the problem that are going to work. We're going to be working in for the rest of the program, and that you're going to be working in hopefully for months and years to come. So, are you ready to do this? This is a big challenge. It's especially for those of you who are more shy, who are introverts, who don't feel comfortable talking to strangers. This is going to be a challenge for probably most of you. But even as daunting and as scary as it might seem at the beginning, you're not going to realize, and you're going to be doing 10 interviews a day because you just got the knack of it and you develop this muscle of interviewing, and you're going to be doing just fine. Remember, safety first. Depending on the issue and the persons that you need to interview, do it with grown-ups, do it with experts. Your safety, especially in pandemic times, is paramount. It's the most important thing. If you're not here, the solution is not created, the world doesn't change. So be safe. Use digital media when possible. You ask your friends to introduce you to friends that can help you with this interview part, and just go for it. There's nothing that can happen that is going to be so wrong that The problem failed because I interviewed someone and they called me stupid, and everything failed. That nothing can go that wrong in the interview stage that is going to forbid you to keep moving forward with your dreams. So just go for it. There's nothing to lose. There's everything to gain. So go for it. Do you have any questions, guys and girls? If there's something that you want to share, some question, some thoughts, some idea, you want to share your project so we can help you find the right questions to ask, this is your space. I know that the transmission has a bit of a delay, so I'll wait for 2 or 3 minutes for you to start asking your questions. And if not, I'll just do the closing, and I'll be happy to see you again next week. What if you don't like talking to people? Well, you will have a greater challenge that the rest of us. But it's something that you need to do. If you have an actual issue talking to people, and you get anxious and you panic and everything, it's understandable. It happens to a lot of people. Find someone to team up with that has that skill that you need and you don't have. And this is, I'll take this cue to give you a very important piece of advice on team building. Don't look for people that are the same as you. Look for people that have what you don't have. For example, I suck at math. I'm very bad with numbers. So what I do is whatever project I want to start, I get someone in the team that is great with numbers, that is good with finances, that can do the math in their heads, because they have what I don't have, and I have what they don't have. We match perfectly. Okay, next question. How do you know the mind of clients who aren't willing to open up? It's a good question. First, we need to analyze if we're asking the questions and people are not telling us what we need, they're not opening up. First, we review the topic and the questions we're asking. Perhaps they're too frontal. Perhaps they're too out there. We need to ask simpler things so people get a feel of us, feel comfortable with us, and then get the big question out. And how do you start a conversation? Start small. Hey, how are you doing? My name is Gonzalo Mena. This is what I love to do. This is what I'm asking you for a bit of your time because I'm working on this very important project and I've been asked to interview people and I would like to know your feelings and your thoughts about this. But first, let me learn a little bit about you. Like, what do you do? Where do you live? Do you have family? And just random, what is called small talk. Random information like, what do you think about the weather? What's your favorite movie? Small things that don't have any judgment risk, that are going to allow the person to feel open, feel comfortable with you, and slowly get to trust you. Once they trust you, perhaps it takes 2 or 3 interviews for them to trust you. Then you drop the bomb, the big question that you want to understand. What if the person ignores you? If you start talking about the topic, the problem that you want to solve, and the person keeps ignoring you, just switch to another person. If you try to change the questions, if you've done the work of going 2 or 3 times to this person and trying to do small talk, and they don't engage you and they avoid you and it's hard for you, they always rescheduling the meeting, just probably that person is not interested, or they have their own issues to deal with and they don't want to deal with this. Move on to someone else. There's almost 8 billion people in the world. I'm sure you're going to find people that are interested in talking with you. Excellent. Jonathan asks, what do you do when you notice that the person is starting to put up their guard again? Ooh, this is like playing chess. You see them building their walls up again because you touch a nerve, you say something or you ask something that made them feel uncomfortable because it's a sensitive issue, and they're putting their walls up again. You have to go back to small talk. Go back to, instead of trying to face the wall up front, just try to circle around it. Talk about different things and try to get back to the topic a little bit later when they trust you a little bit more. When their guard is down because you were talking about, oh, I love Spider-Man. It's such a cool movie. And so what do you think about world hunger? You get them with your guard down and they start talking. Of course, not that abrupt. That's giving you an example. Miracle here asks, innovations can be a challenge for me. Innovation is a challenge for everybody. Don't feel that this is especially hard just for you. We are facing the unknown. We're creating something that doesn't exist. It is difficult. Several brands promise similar things as my brand. How do I make mine distinctive? Ooh, I can do a whole class out of this question. But in my opinion, my personal opinion, you're free, of course, to do whatever you want to do. Do not engage with those brands. Like, there are brands that would go, oh, don't choose this brand because they promise this but deliver this, and this other one lies and this other one cheats. Don't get into that fight because that hurts your brand more than it hurts them. The only brands that can do that is like Coca-Cola and Pepsi. They fight all the time in advertisement, but they can afford it. They have the lawyers and the millions to do it. Find something that everybody else says that they are offering, but they don't, or something that they don't offer. For example, let's say that you're working with clothes. A lot of stores say we have the best quality of clothing at the lowest rates, lowest prices. Okay, everybody offers that, but can you actually prove it? Can you prove that you have the best price? Perhaps you can prove it and you have something new. Perhaps you're the only brand that works with recycling, recycled cloth. You have something that the rest doesn't have. Sometimes we need something very small to differentiate our brands from other brands. Sometimes it's the way how we charge. Hey, bring your old clothes here. We're going to recycle them and we're going to give you credit to buy in our store. Perhaps your clothes is exactly the same as 10 other stores, but you offer this to people, this way of exchanging their old clothes for new, and that is the whole difference. Hey, I open a coffee shop where I sell clothing, so people go there, have a coffee, and oh, that dress looks really pretty. I'm going to try it on. You offer something different, perhaps not even related to the product, not even related to the problem you're trying to solve, but you add a layer of something new that might attract people. It's a lot of work, and actually design thinking, it's used to find that thing that makes you different from the rest, and share that with your client. So at the end of this program, you're going to have the answers that you hope, a miracle. If not, drop me a line on email and I'll be happy to help you. Betty, what do you think, Betty, that people don't like talking to you? Sometimes it's a perception that we have that people don't like talking to us when they actually like talking with us. Sometimes it's because we're doing or saying something that is alienating people. We need to find out what it is, why that is, and work on it. Like we were saying from class 1, if people don't like talking to you, that's a failure that you need to learn something about so it doesn't happen again. So what are you doing that makes people don't like to talk to you? Or on the other hand, why do you feel that? Perhaps it's just in your head. What if the person calls the police when you just started talking? If you ask a question and someone calls the police, that person either is very scary, very jumpy, or they have their issues. Just talk to the police and explain the situation if they show up. And if they threaten to call the police if you keep asking questions, just walk away. Remember, your safety and your well-being is the most important thing here. They say you're rude. Well, that means that you need to train your interview muscles a little bit more, perhaps. Just keep doing it. And when they say you're rude, ask them, how am I rude? What am I doing that makes you feel uncomfortable? Is it the words that I use? Perhaps my voice is too loud and it makes you feel threatened when I ask a question. Perhaps my body language, like I'm too anxious, so I look like I'm about to throw a punch. Ask them. If people tell that you're rude, okay, how am I rude? Please help me fix this. This is exactly what we're doing. You have a problem, you need people to help you fix it. Ask them. This is going to be a very, very good exercise for you because you're going to learn two things doing just one thing. And okay, I'm I a little bit past my time. Thank you, everybody, for your questions, for your thoughts. Feel free to ask the Coderina team. They have my email contact. If you have any questions that I can help you with, drop me a line. I'll do my best to answer to you quickly. I just became a dad 2 weeks ago, so it might take me a few days to answer all your emails, but I'll do my best. And if not, I'll answer your questions next class. Have a wonderful rest of the class and a nice weekend. See you all next Saturday.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Gondozi. Thank you very much for today's section. We'll see you next week again. We really appreciate it. So for those of us that are still online, we've started the Python class. You can just join your Python class already. Thank you, Mr. Gondozi.
My pleasure. Goodbye.
Yeah, sure. Bye. So yeah, we can join the Python class now. Thank you.